Hello, hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to Gratitude Happy Hour. It's Tuesday, and that means that it's time for some gratitude. And I have with me today a dear friend, Deb Goldberg. Hello, Deb, and welcome to Gratitude Happy Hour.
Oh, hi, Terry. It's so nice to be here with you.
Absolutely. I love it when we spend time together.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too.
So I always like to start out my show with some gratitude. And I have a quote that I want to start out with today. Enjoy the little things, for one day you may look back and realize they were the big things. And that's by Robert Brault. And it's so true, isn't it, Deb? It's like it's all the same. There
Mhm.
is really no comparison. Everything is equal. So
Every-
when we in our minds try to make a comparison and we may try to say, oh, that's a really big thing and something else was minor, it really isn't. It really all comes together in our life and works together in a way that lifts us all up and teaches us on this journey. That's what I found anyway.
I agree. I think that big and small, all things matter, and in our experience, and it's being grateful for the little things each day, just as much as it is the big things.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. Exactly. It's all in our perception, it's all in how we view the world. If we see it as a competitive world where we have to continuously compare ourselves to others or our experiences to other people's experiences, but there really is no comparison. And it's how we deal with those what we perceive as little things that's going to say how we work with the bigger things that we think are bigger, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If we're not, I guess, if we're not cognizant of all the little things that mean so much to all of us that are given to us on a day-to-day basis that we take for granted, um, it's really hard to know how to embrace the big things when they happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And when we look at big and small and do all of those comparisons, we're really coming from a lack mentality when we do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to share a funny little story. I used to play cards with my in laws and with the grandparents, and we played a game called Pinochle. Now, I dearly love that game. I haven't played it in years. But one of the things I loved about my husband's grandfather was he was so wise. He had so much wisdom. And if we decided to complain about our cards that we'd been dealt, he would always point out, well, when you learn how to play well with those, you'll get better.
Isn't it?
And
And
that I took that like life, you know, when we learn how to play well with others, when we learn how to work with the hand that we're given, then we're going to see life differently. It's going to change, just like Wayne Dyer said. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So it doesn't matter what hand we're dealt, it doesn't matter what our life is like. It's our perception of that life and what we're going to do with it and where we're going to take it. And gratitude plays a huge part in that, a
right,
huge part.
right.
So, one thing I also do on my show is I shout out a gratitude for at least one person. And today, Deb, I'm so glad you're here with me because I want to give some gratitude for you. And
Oh,
I'm so grateful for the bond that we have. And it was almost like an immediate bond, an immediate saying, I know you, I know your heart.
mhm.
And then as we got to really know each other online and then know each other for real in the real world,
Uh-huh.
it was just more beautiful. And every moment is just beautiful. And you've given me a lot of insight and you've given me a role model to look at, is how I feel. And so I'm very grateful for you and thank you. Thank you for being in my life.
Aw, thank you, Teri. That is so sweet and kind of you. And it's amazing what, when you open your heart, what you can bring forth with other people. And I so feel the same way about you, because I feel like you are such a role model to me about um, not giving up on things, and trying and making things happen, even though you're really frustrated. You have so much patience, and teach me so much about so many other things about myself. And so yeah, it is a divine appointment, isn't it?
It
It's
really is.
yeah.
It really is. We're soul sisters, and I love that. I
Mhm.
love that. I feel very close to you, even though we really haven't known each other that long. But
Right.
it was just that instant connection, like you said.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was instant. It was instant from Enlightened World when we were on the summit together.
Right.
There was just something that clicked.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It really did. And I'm very grateful to Ruth for bringing us together and for co-creating all this little group that we are participating in to really bring a lot of energy into the world.
Mhm.
And one of those things that's being brought into the world is a new show with Deb Goldberg as the host, and really bringing out a lot of energy about relationships. So I would like for you to share that with our listeners and just let everybody know what's going to take place starting tomorrow.
Right. Thank you so much. And I'm just so appreciative of you asking me to come on and do this today. Um, and it's something that kind of got birthed out of our time together,
Yes, it
right?
did.
It was we spent almost a week together, you and I and Ruth, and really bonding and really getting to know each other, and uh, digging really deep into allowing all of ourselves to be seen.
Mhm.
And so through that, we I guess we just started talking about relationships, and so this got birthed from our time together. And it's really close to my heart. It's something that I've always been interested in, is helping people with relationships.
Yes.
I was a therapist for 18 years, a mental health and drug and alcohol counselor, and I loved working with couples. And so I felt like, this was just kind of a normal process for me of doing this. And really, I've been working and using all the techniques that I understood, not so much from my clinical work, but from what God and Jesus and angels have taught me about myself and relationships, and applying them to my own relationship. And by all means, it is a process.
Mhm.
And I don't have this mastered at all, but I feel like my expertise in um, my history, and working with these techniques of they're really divine concepts. It's looking at relationships from higher consciousness,
Mhm.
and using divine love and metaphysical concepts to understand who we are and how our relationships are working. So many people are having problems in their relationships. I mean, that's a kind of a standard thing. Most people would come into my office because there was a relationship issue somewhere. Most of it, what I found out, is a relationship with ourselves.
I was just going to ask that. Isn't that what we have to look at first?
Yeah, and that's what the whole relationship of having other people in our life is, to help us really experience and explore ourselves. So we start with that understanding, but we're gonna start even with a basic foundation tomorrow of the show's called tomorrow, building a divine foundation, and understanding the role of divine love in relationships and transformation. Because I think people really, um, could know that there's so much divine love guiding us all the time and expressing itself through us. And that connection needs to be there all of the time to really understand what your relationships are.
Yeah, absolutely. And the show is called Divine Relationship Recovery, and that was downloaded to you to call it that, right?
Yeah, actually, I think weren't we walking through the Manatee Park or something and I said, divine recovery, divine, I think it just started to flow out. And that was probably before we even had the rest of all of it start to happen. So it was coming in little pieces.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that's the way it works sometimes with spirit. You know, sometimes we get little tricklings, sometimes we get a whole download. That happens more often than not with me. And I'm like, wait a minute. But they did inspire the name, they inspired the whole concept for the show. And you said yes. And isn't that so powerful to be able to say yes when spirit calls?
Yes. And that's something that I think you've role modeled a lot for me and Ruth, is just saying yes. Just saying yes and saying yes and saying yes and just doing it. And it's just been a dream of mine to do this. So I'm like, oh my God, here it is. I have to say yes.
Yeah,
I have to say yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. I have a dear friend here in this area, and I called her up one day and I asked her to participate in something. And before she even heard everything that I was asking, she said yes. She said, I've just been told by spirit to just say yes.
I love it.
I love that. There's no resistance in that. There's no having to let our human brain grasp it and say, do I really want to do this? You know, is this for me? Because when we listen inside and we open ourselves up to spirit and what spirit's going to lead us to, there's not going to be anything that we're going to encounter that's a no.
Mm-mm.
If we're living that spirit-led life where we just say, I'm open. I'm open. Bring me the experiences I need to have to really learn and grow and get closer to my real self, that return to love, right? That's what we're all looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And that's our mantra now, the three of us, right? Is,
Yes.
is that everything we're doing is that concept is return to love, which means return home to divine love, which means when I was also thinking how people say repent, and repent actually means to go home, to go back home to God, or whatever you call divine love. That's what all of this is about, is being led divinely. um, and and that's what you're talking about too tonight, is like how do you embrace all of those experiences that keep coming to us, and want them, and not let your mind keep talking you out of, well, this isn't right, or getting scared, or whatever the case might be, to because then you start saying no to things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or you start judging them whether they're good or bad or wrong or right.
Yeah. And we get confused then. We go into a chaos state because we're like, ooh, do I listen to that voice or do I listen to that voice? And so if we shut all that out and say, okay, I've opened myself up to whatever is coming my way, then that's what's going to happen. And one of the things that's going to happen on Deb's show, starting tomorrow, is we have the ability to have people call in and ask questions. Now, that may seem foreign for you on YouTube, on Facebook Live. So we decided to demonstrate how this is going to work. Are you ready for a caller, Deb?
I am.
Okay, so let's take our caller. Hello.
Hello, I'm calling in.
Well, hi, and that sounds like Ruth.
This is Ruth. Yep, I'm checking in to see how easy it is when you see the Zoom link, well, I think we're just going to give just the phone number, correct? So they don't have to try to figure it out.
No, we have to also give the webinar ID number. So people will get the phone number and the webinar ID number. The phone link might ask you for some kind of password or something, but you just skip over that and it will connect. It will connect you. But we do have to give them the webinar ID.
Okay. Yeah, it worked really very easily.
Uh-huh.
Well, Ruth, do you have a question for Deb? We're going to practice this.
We're going to practice. Okay. So I have a challenging relationship, and I'm hoping that this new show is going to be able to give me a little peace and perspective about it. So it has to do with my sister-in-law. So is this show going to be one that I could call in and get some help with a real life relationship issue?
Most definitely. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a family relationship. It could be a friendship or somebody you work with. So it's about all relationships. It's not just about romantic relationships.
Nice. That's exactly what I would be looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, we will get on that right away.
I love it. I love it. So callers, you can see how easy it is. When you call in, we will give you the phone number. We will give you the webinar ID, and that's what you'll need to put into the phone when you reach the phone number after you dialed it. And then you'll come in as a participant, but you won't be on the screen with us. You won't have to be on video. All you do is call in, you ask your question or give your comment to Deb, and she will address that. And we ask that you keep it to relationships. You know, a lot of call-in shows, they want a reading or something like that.
Right.
This is a discussion about relationships and divine relationships and any information that can be provided to open up you to the spirit of that relationship and how to look at it maybe in a different perspective, right, Deb?
Yeah, this is all about changing your perspective and seeing it through a higher consciousness lens, where we're going to use divine concepts and metaphysical concepts to understand why we're having these relationships and the truth about them. Meaning that they're all holy unions that are made for us through what I call God, which is divine love. But these are all holy relationships for us, holy unions for us to grow, to open up and see ourselves in a more expansive way, and also to learn how to look at the patterns and our belief systems and challenge those. And our relationships will bring that up for us all the time. And it's really, I call it a divine gift, and it's a mirror. Our relationships are real mirrors to us, which we'll be talking about on the second week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Ruth, thank you for calling in. We really appreciate you helping us out today by demonstrating how easy this is and how easy it's going to be for callers to be able to participate. You know, on Facebook Live, you can interact with the comments, but sometimes you just want to hear that voice and you just want to explain yourself with words instead of with typing the words.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, you know, and as somebody who would have a concern, I would really feel good knowing that the person answering the questions, like Deb, really knows what my question is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than trying to type it in feverishly, and you know, by that point they've moved on to some other topic. So I just think the call-in thing is perfect for Deb's show.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. And, I'm a podcast host like Teri on Angel Heart Radio. And so I am very used to taking phone calls from people on Black Talk Radio of questions and trying to deal with situations that people are having, anxiety about, and, trying to bring some more peace to their life. Uh, but this show is going to be really learning about yourself and how to take more responsibility and stepping into your fullness of having the power within you, that your relationships, you can have so much more power through love in your relationships, and learning how to take full responsibility for that.
I think it sounds exciting. I mean, it's a little bit of, I'm sorry, my dogs are having a blast, but it's hard to hear. I think it's exciting because it's spirituality, and it's a little bit of counseling ideas, self-help ideas. There's a whole lot of stuff going and educating all at once. I mean, it sounds very, very rich.
It is. It is. And I'm so grateful to have the both of you hosting with me, because you both bring lots of wisdom from your own experiences into helping others as well. So it'll be wonderful discussions of participation with Ruth and Teri involved as well. And it'll just, I want to make it fun, learning.
Yeah.
And even though we're talking about some heavy, topics, it's really about learning to have fun with all of this, and that takes some time. And it's okay to have fun when we're learning these things and learning about ourselves, and as we're transforming and ascending. And one of the other things that I think are really important is, as light workers, we are always getting challenged in our relationships. And I know that even in my own relationship, which I use my husband a lot as examples, and you'll be hearing that, is that there's this issue of what happens when your spouse, your partner, is not growing at the same pace that you are, and struggling about what your divine calling is, and can you do that when your partner is not on the same place that you are. And so we'll be discussing things like that too as we go along, that there's a issue of inclusivity. Like, how do I learn how to ascend and transform and be able to love others enough that I don't have to be exclusive in my love. And for each person, it's going to be different. Some people are going to, maybe it's better off for them to leave a relationship, and other people it's not. But maybe it can help calm down some of those questions that a lot of light workers have about what is happening in their relationships right now. I know I've had them myself.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, really, to talk about that, because that's a tough one for a lot of light workers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. When you're not in alignment with each other, then that's where all the dissonance comes in, and you start distancing from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really important to address that, and how to open up communication so that you can address that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've had 5 years of practice with it with my
That's so funny.
that I could share with you, and he does not mind me sharing at all our experiences. But I think it can be helpful for people that are just starting to wake up and are asking questions about themselves, and people that are pretty far along in their awakening, although we're never done with it. It's a process that it keeps unfolding. And so I think it should be covering hopefully a lot of a huge spectrum of questions for people.
Beautiful.
Sounds perfect. I cannot wait for these shows to roll out. So thank you, Deb, for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for the invitation. And thanks for the inspiration, both of you. I said that it came out of our time together.
Right.
Yeah. And we're so grateful to you, Ruth, for Enlightened World Network. For anyone who's not familiar with it, if you haven't visited Enlightened World Network on Facebook, please do so, because that's where Deb will be sharing her shows, is through there and on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Ruth.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's been a total blessing. Total blessing. So we'll be on tomorrow, our first show at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Pacific Time. It'll be Wednesdays every week. And we just love that you're going to join us and have fun with us and learn together and laugh together and cry together, whatever happens.
And Ruth will be co-hosting with you tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Right.
So we actually get to see your face tomorrow.
Yes.
Yay!
You have to see a telephone.
It's kind of fun to see the telephone there, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ruth, I think that you said you could be on until 5:30 with us.
I think I need to get off now. I've got another call coming in, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that. But
well, we really
you guys
appreciate you coming on and showing everyone how this works and chatting with us for a few minutes. That was awesome to have your energy here.
Oh, absolutely. I love you guys so much, and looking forward to this. So thank you.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, that was fun. And that's the thing, you know, whenever we do something, it doesn't have to be work. It doesn't have to be so serious. We can look at, how can I make this more fun? How can I have more fun in my life? And that's what the angels have all shared with me, Deb, is if we lighten up, if we go play on the playground, if we swing in the swing set, our vibrations lift. And I feel like that's a part of what starts the breakdown process in relationships, is when we stop seeing the fun in the relationships.
Yeah.
And then one person, like I said, comes out of alignment with the other one, because you have that feel of, this is not fun anymore. So putting more fun in your life just increases everything, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Fun changes everything. Joy changes everything. It makes everything so much more magical. And that's one of the things we'll not just talk about joy, but we have so many expectations of what a relationship should look like from this earth.
Right.
We have all these ideas of what each relationship should look like. So we're going to be redefining that from a divine standpoint of what your relationship actually is as a holy union versus what you think it is. And when you start to look at it from that way, it changes everything.
Yeah, it really does. We have so many misconceptions about things in life, like relationships, and that's a pretty serious one, because some of us didn't have good role models for a relationship. And so, there's like, what do I do in this relationship? I don't have anything to really pattern it after. So I'm glad you're going to address that and really looking at, what are my expectations? And expectations they're a weird animal, aren't they? It's like, okay, I expect it to happen this way, and then when it doesn't, it's like, oh boy.
Right. Or then we have expectations from like you're talking about, not having really good role models or bonding very well with our family of origin. And then all of those expectations become the expectations of your relationships as you get older. So they're based on what you had, and that doesn't work either. And so that's why a lot of times people are struggling in their relationship, because either they have inaccurate information through an earth lens, or the role models that they had created patterns of belief of what a relationship should be. Yeah, negative or positive, really.
Right, exactly. Because some people, they look at their parents' relationship and they're like, well, I'm not going to do that. So then they try to change it, but they've still got all of those tapes in their subconscious. And so, there's a lot that comes into play with those old patterns and old beliefs. I want to say hello on Facebook to Jeffrey McCowan. I hope I said that right. Because what are we talking about, ladies?
I guess he just came on.
I think he just joined in to the conversation. So Jeffrey, I have with me today Deb Goldberg, and Deb has a wonderful new show starting tomorrow at 5:00 Eastern time, right here on Enlightened World Network. And we'll be sharing it all over on many avenues, but it will be broadcasting from Enlightened World. And it's called Divine Relationship Recovery. Does that sound interesting, Jeffrey? And anybody else that's listening, we'd like to have some feedback and like to hear what you have to say. And since Jeffrey missed our little demonstration, do you want to share how people can interact during the show, Deb?
Sure. We're going to give people a call-in phone number with a web ID number, so they can call through and speak to us personally. And so we're going to take phone calls during our show every Wednesday, and where we can help people with their relationship issues. But we very much want them to stay on topic. And each week we're going to have a different topic. So, and that will be posted in the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, so that people know what that topic is for that day. Of course, though, it goes into other areas, but we want to stay focused on the topic for the day.
Thank you, Deb. And hopefully that explained the question that we were asked. And that's a good thing, to be able to communicate clearly when people call in. Just know what you want to ask. Don't just call in just to call in. But if something is touching your heart that's being discussed, and maybe this is a situation that you're in that you would really like some clarity on, like when Ruth called in earlier and mentioned, the relationship with a sister-in-law. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but whatever that relationship is that you would like some clarity on, just have your question ready. Have it, if you need to write it out before you make that phone call, then do that, and ask how you can be helped through this show that Deb's doing. Deb is wonderful at bringing clarity to situations. That's one thing I love about you, Deb. It's like we can be discussing, we can have a round table where we're all just throwing out ideas, and you bring out the clarity to the situation. And really, it's like you sit back and you're like, okay, let me look at this. And then you come out with your wisdom, and you have lots of wisdom to offer. So I'm very grateful that you're doing this show. It's going to help so many people.
Thank you. Thank you, Teri. That's beautiful. I appreciate your kind words.
Absolutely. And I will be on the show with you. Ruth and I are going to alternate the Wednesdays that we will be co-hosting with you. So I'm really looking forward to being there and see this all play out, see how this is going to affect so many lives with the information, with the interactions. I'm very excited about that.
I am too.
I think no one else is doing this. We're like, we're breaking ground here.
We're breaking ground because we're looking at it from a divine perspective. And that's not what you usually hear in clinical information in how we look at relationships. And we're going to be looking at it from a divine perspective. And you don't always hear that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. So I'm real excited. And one reason why I wanted to have you on Gratitude Happy Hour is because in relationships, gratitude is so important, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I had one couple that I'm also a life coach, and I had one couple that came and they shared with me that they keep an ongoing log of what they're grateful for. So it's like anybody can come in at any time and write in this book that they have open at all times, just write a word of gratitude.
That's
How
beautiful.
exciting is that?
Yeah.
To have that inspiration to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're sharing gratitude, it's the same vibration as love,
Mm-hmm.
because it is love. When you're lifting another person, which is what you're doing with gratitude, you're being grateful, thankful, appreciative. When you're sharing that with another person, you're sharing from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pure love that's coming through without an agenda. Just saying, I'm grateful for you. So I was just wondering if you have incorporated that yet into your lesson things that's going to come out, or your discussions, and how to really bring that forward to people, to show that gratitude, that it goes along with respect. So respect and gratitude in relationships.
Yeah. And I think that's a biggie, because a lot of times we take things for granted. We take our loved ones for granted. And a lot of that comes from taking ourselves for granted. So everything always comes back down to you. How grateful are for you, for your own self, for your own life? And then how does that transfer to how you get across to other people? Are you telling them how much you love them? How grateful for you are? When do you say thank you when they do something? Or you just kind of like blow it off? And it's really important to express yourself. And so, yeah, we'll be talking about all of these things over the course of time. And I love that idea of making a notebook to write whatever you're grateful for at the time, because anybody could go and look at it and say, oh, like maybe I need a pick me up, or maybe I felt I wasn't being, I was taken for granted. Maybe I need to go check the book and say, oh, maybe that's not really what's going on. That's some thought in my head that has nothing to do with truth.
Yeah, I thought it was such a great idea because we live in such busy times right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's comings and goings and rushings and kids to get here and there and all of that. So that's one way that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, and an opportunity at any time to just stop and give some gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so many times when you respond to something somebody did, there might be that courtesy, thanks, but this gives an opportunity to spend more time in thought and bring it forward of how much it meant to you.
Mm-hmm. Being intentional.
Yeah.
Being intentional.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I think, I've heard people say, just doing common things around the house, chores or whatever. And why don't you say thank you when somebody does something? And they're like, well, why should I? Like, that's the expectation, or, like you should do those things. Well, it's still nice to say thank you. Everybody likes to be seen. And it's funny, I haven't talked about this in a long time, but there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. And everybody has their own love language. And one of the love languages is words of affirmation. And so gratitude and thank you is huge. And so if you have a spouse that happens to be their love language, and you're not giving that to them, they're going to feel really taken advantage of, because you're not expressing your gratitude. So there's just like all of these awesome things that we could talk about that play out in our relationships in different ways.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like there's going to be so much inspiration and inspiring things that will be brought out that
Mhm.
will help people to look at things in a different perspective.
Mhm.
Because many times in a relationship, you get into a routine. So you don't seek out how can I make this relationship better?
Mhm.
So this will give people some ideas, some things to think about and mull over and say, let's try that. It might just work.
Mhm. And it's really about stop blaming other people for the way that you feel and for your pain. So, that's going to be part of this as well, is really stepping up and taking responsibility for your joy and for your pain, and knowing that most of it is all being created inside of you, and how to spend more time feeling joyful than staying in the conflict of wanting to blame other people because you're not happy or your life isn't where you think it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more we give, the more we get. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're giving gratitude or we're giving, let's say, an extra effort doing the dishes just because you can,
Mm-hmm.
then you get a real joy from that.
Mm-hmm.
You really do give joy in giving to others. So that's something to look at too. Is like, how am I living my relationship? Because how you live your life is how you're living your relationship. So are you being good to yourself? Are you really taking care of you and doing the things that make you happy?
Mm-hmm.
So these are all things that Deb's going to help us explore. And I'm very excited that this is going to take place.
Mm-hmm.
So, Deb, I started the show sharing who I was grateful for. And I would like to hear your shout out. Who is it that you're grateful for? If you had to pick one person today that you would just like to express some gratitude to, who would that be?
There's many, and you're one of them.
Oh, it's a choice, isn't it?
It is a choice, yes, because
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you and what you bring to your beautiful self that you bring to me, and inspires me to be more of me. Yeah, and it's just, it is beautiful, of and inspiring me to go higher. Yeah, so I am very, very grateful for you, Teri. Um, and yes, I can have a list of people that I could just go on about that I feel gratitude for. And I want people to know that it is something you have to actually think about to stay in that state of mind, because there's plenty of times where you can just get knocked off of that place, and then you're not being grateful, and it happens every single day. So this is a choice of like, okay, can I go higher? How can I keep going higher within myself so that I could stay at that level of gratitude and joy and love? um, and that's something we'll be talking about too. So I don't want anybody to think that I don't ever like forget to be grateful, because it happens.
It does happen. Life happens.
Life happens.
We're gonna have those days when
Uh-huh.
we're just not feeling it, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, I'm just gonna go back to bed and pull the covers over my head today. I don't
right.
have those days very often. I used to, but not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so important to acknowledge other people, to be seen, to really be seen and let people see that. I have these little cards that I pass out. You've seen me give them out. They're my
Yeah.
gratitude cards. And they just say, I'm grateful for you. And then it asks the question, who are you grateful for? So that's why I turned it around
Mm-hmm.
and asked you, Deb, who you were grateful for. And thank you. Thank you for your gratitude to me. I think it's so important every day to let those people that we're grateful for know that.
Mm-hmm.
Say it to them, write it to them, send them a text or a message or an email or a letter, you know, but let them know. And one tradition that I started a few years ago is the gratitude vase. And those, I printed it out in a book. It's a journal. And every day you can put in there who you're grateful for. just write a name every day of who you're grateful for. You know, many gratitude journals ask you what you're grateful for, which is good. It's good to think about those things in our life, but to really show that appreciation to somebody makes a huge difference. Huge. And you don't have to have the journal. You can just send a note. Just send them a text, or send them a message on Messenger or wherever, and say, you know, I'm grateful for you. And every day I try to pick one person, even if I don't know that person. Maybe I've just interacted with them a little bit on Facebook, or, you know, in other social media. But I always say, I'm grateful for you. And the responses have been amazing over the years. I've had people that go, why? Why are you grateful for me? And I go, why not? You know, why not? When we show gratitude to others, we're giving an act of love. It's an act of kindness.
Mhm.
So that's my spiel.
Mhm.
And I encourage everyone to bring more gratitude into your life and into your relationship, because it does make a difference in how we treat each other. That respect factor that we give to the other person, saying thank you when they open a door for us,
Mhm.
or if they bring you a drink, if they've gotten up and gone to the refrigerator and it's like, oh, here's one for you too. You know,
Mhm.
just the little, really the little things, right? Down.
It is. It is.
We talked about that earlier. It's the little things in life that really make the difference and make life enjoyable or not
Mhm.
enjoyable.
Right. Wanting to look at life as a gift,
Hmm.
all
Yeah.
parts of it. And of course, that's a work in progress. Of,
Yes.
and you're such a role model for this. And doing gratitude happy hour just fits you so well
Thank
because you're
you.
so service minded, and it's just so beautiful how you offer yourself, your love and wisdom to people all of the time. And you're just wonderful.
Thank
I'm,
you.
it is, I'm grateful, and this is a perfect show for you.
Thank you, my dear. I love doing this show,
Mhm.
and we're coming up on the end of the show. So I just want to share that starting next week, the show will change just a little bit. On Tuesdays, I will still have Gratitude Happy Hour, Thankful Thursdays on Thursdays, but the Tuesday show will take on a different flavor. And we're going to talk about emotions, and specifically healing our emotions that we have after a life trauma. And life traumas could be anything. They could be illness. They could be a loss, either from death, divorce, separation, ever what that looks like, disasters, any of the things that create that chaos inside puts an emotion in there, or many emotions inside of us that sometimes we don't deal with. So, starting next week, we're going to really explore how to heal from those emotions. And this is something, Deb, as you're aware, that was really profound for me over the last year. I
Mhm.
went through a cancer journey last year. And
Mhm.
one thing that I found going through that and being right in the midst of it was, what do I do with all these emotions? Because the doctors will help us heal whatever's going on physically, but who helps us heal those things that are sitting there and are so profound and that need to be discussed? So that's going to start next week on Gratitude Happy Hour. And I hope that you will continue to join in and continue with the discussion. And next week, Lisa Jo Davis will be my guest on Tuesday on Gratitude Happy Hour. Lisa Jo had a near death experience that really changed her life. And dealing and healing from that, and healing from the emotions of that, is what we're going to talk about next week. So I hope you'll join in, same time, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock's happy hour. So, so that's the time I am doing that on Tuesdays going forward. And I want to thank everybody for coming on today, for joining in, for listening to this exciting news about Deb's new show tomorrow. It's going to happen on Enlightened World Network. So right now, if you haven't yet, go to Enlightened World Network on Facebook and like the page, because what happens is you get notified when you do that every time we go live. So Deb, I'm just so excited for you and so happy that you are doing this show. And thank you so much for coming on today to share that with us, to share the concept of it, how it came to be, and what we can look forward to. I'm really thrilled for the audience that gets to experience you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me on to do this. And I think between your Tuesday show and the Wednesday, I could just see them being a tag team of each other, that people can go to both places to feel like they can get some healing of what they might be bringing into their relationships because they haven't healed themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I can see them really a beautiful blend of bouncing off each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a friend of mine calls it going from wounds to wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to be exploring, both of us, really. You know, exploring how we can turn those wounds in our life to just really the wisdom that will come through that experience of walking through it. I call it walking through the fire and then rising up on the other side and being more joyful, more happy inside, and more peaceful when we do that, when we can explore how to walk through all of that. So I'm thrilled for all of this, for all the changes that are taking place and the newness of it. It feels really good. It's new and it's exciting. And I would love to hear from the audience that has seen this today, or if you're watching it on the replay, just type in the comments some feedback for us. Type in what you think about what we're bringing forth into the world. We're giving birth here.
Yeah.
We're having babies. The good kind that really will explore and grow together as we go forward with all this information and all this interaction. So again, thank you to everyone who's been listening. I love you. I love you. I love you. And thank you for tuning in today to hear about Deb's new adventure. And please join both of us on Tuesday and on Wednesday as we bring these shows to you. Deb, I love you so much. You are my soul sister. And thank you for being in my life. I love you.
Thank you too, Teri.
I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day or night, wherever you may be. And we'll see you tomorrow on Deb's show. Bye, everybody.
Bye.